of USD. And yeah, we had a bit of downside, upside, downside in the past 24 hours with, or maybe 36 hours, I should say, with USD. Price started off pretty bearish. We had some gaps in the market to the upside for a lot of the USD pairs. It looks like a lot of them has gone and filled the gap. And now we're seeing another reaction to that. Didn't really see a gap for the DXY until kind of the last daily candle closure, and price is looking pretty bearish. And what I can say with the USD is about where we're trading on the weekly chart. We're still holding this massive level as resistance. So again, we just about closed above it last week, but it's not a confident close, not a confident breakout. So I'm still waiting for more information in the higher time frames before I do declare my bias, whether I'm looking for a big breakout here in USD back to 113, back to 114, or are we just rejecting the high, possibly looking for another swing to the downside? That could be the case as well. I need to wait to see what we can get on the higher time frames, and then that will dictate my bias for probably the end of the year, really. Because if you do get a breakout, I'm only going to look to trade it back to the highs. If you do reject this, there's a good chance we come straight back down to the lows of the range. So either which way is a big move to be had. At the moment, I'm not confident with a bias, so I'm not gonna speak on one just yet. Kind of waiting for price to develop. I did touch on this head and shoulder pattern, which still looks like it could be shaping up with the left shoulder over here, the head over there, and then looking for kind of a right shoulder to form. And that could be a really interesting opportunity later in the week. Of course, this is going to be your neckline area. Looking for a break of structure there. Some shorts looks good as well. Of course, looking for the opposite on EURUSD, for example. But that still could be a nice opportunity to take USD to the downside this week if we are going to reject this level, which so far it looks like price is doing that. But I need a bit more information before I really do set my bias to bearish or bullish, as I just said, with the higher time frames. But it looks like something like this could form. So waiting game really with USD. If something like this does form, I'll speak more about the shorts and probably look for some opportunities myself on some of the USD pairs. At the moment, just need a bit more information, some more development. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm waiting for on USD. Of course, with EURUSD, it's kind of the exact opposite. You got the left shoulder over here, possibly the head, and again, looking for that kind of right shoulder to form. And then, of course, you've got the neckline there. Could be another opportunity to take it to the upside as well. So there's upside there for EURUSD as well. And of course, we're trading at a very similar area on the weekly chart. If I just drag this level across, prior support, of course, acting as support again. Price just about got closed underneath last week, similar to USD. DXY getting that close above that level at 107. But again, not convinced. We left behind a pretty big wick to the downside as well. Not a lot of momentum on the break. Didn't clear it by a lot of distance. So therefore, the breakout I wouldn't be looking to follow. If this week's candle becomes very bearish this week and we close like this, of course, if we see another strong bearish candle close to the downside, that would be something I'll be interested in and looking for pullbacks and more downside and talking about lows of 0.97. But until we get something like that, I can't really be bearish on EURUSD, especially with the area of trading. And like I said, if that inverse head and shoulder pattern does form, there could actually be some really nice buys later on in the week. See a nice push to the upside, a correction, depending on what you're looking to do. Could be looking to try and tackle the buys on the right shoulder or wait for the neckline to snap and look for the next pullback afterwards. But either which way, you're expecting upside there for EURUSD, left head, right shoulder. And that, of course, will be a neckline. So a really nice inverse head and shoulder pattern, basically just a mirror image of what DXY is doing. So there could be a lot of upside here for the USD pairs if DXY does reject that level, which so far looks like it's the play that market is doing. But until I start to talk about opportunities, I need price to give me something like this, and then we can look for a pullback of that move at the very least. Preferably, you're looking for the next high low after that, because at that point we've got the break of structure, and then we can speak about some pullbacks afterwards with some more probabilities in our favor. So yeah, USD, I'm slowly drifting to more the bearish side of things, looking for some upside in EURUSD, but I need that up move there before I start anticipating any opportunity to jump in myself. But it looks like we are slowly getting ready for that. Pound USD, similar situation as well, not as clean as Euro USD. I'm looking for pullbacks for pound, but I'm not really interested in the buys, as I spoke about on a few occasions. I'm more interested with the sells for pound USD. We have broke out of that long-term trend line, which we spoke about yesterday, and I do think there's a lot more downside for pound USD back into the low. However, I need to see some pullbacks before I do get short. I did speak on a retest of this area as a nice place to short. Not really a trade idea I'll be looking for because the market hasn't pulled back enough for myself. That fits the plan and fits what I'm looking for. But nonetheless, it's a nice area, especially on the lower time frames. If you're entering on like the 30 or the 50-minute chart, might have found a nice trade there yesterday. It was a nice move to the downside. We did fill the gap. We were speaking about this yesterday. Not only is price bearish, and not only do you have nice bearish impulsive leg, the market's also got a gap there to the downside, which is likely to fill, and it did fill that on the retest of that level. So that job is done. That box is ticked. Maybe now we're going to see some retracement, possibly. If euro is going to push up, there's a good chance pound USD is going to push up. This is still the zone I like. It's just very, very far away from price, and maybe we won't get the retest of that level. Maybe we do. Again, part of trading is just looking for the opportunities and waiting for them to arise. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And when they do, you want to make sure you're there to take the trade. So if price does get there, the plan will be to look into short. But that's the only other area which I will look to short pound USD from. It's a healthy enough correction where I can be confident with my trade and look to really swing the move as well. Anything before that, it would be more of a quick in and out trade. So yeah, pound USD still a lot of momentum. We've broken through structure. Multiple massive swing lows have been broken. This one here, and this one here as well. So been taking out lows like it's nothing. So that tells me there's more downside in the market. But first, I do want to see it up move for a retracement. And yeah, in terms of the buys, euro looks better, so I'd rather just focus on euro anyway. Aussie dollar, this one, we did see some nice downside. We did talk about that double top early in the week. Really nice retest of this low here. We had the retest from last week. Price came for the double top again this week with the gap. We did the same thing as pound. We filled the gap to the downside, but this one kept falling, at least to hit this low here. Starting to struggle now a little bit. So if you are in a trade from that high, I think this is a great place to secure some profits, manage the trade. I still do think there's more downside in the tank for Aussie dollar. I'm still looking for a push into 0.64. This is the area I'm looking for price to get to. 0.64, 0.638, because that's a massive, massive level on the daily chart, where I think at least price might be looking to get there before we see the next big bounce. So I'm still pretty bearish on Aussie dollar until we get there. Again, not really an opportunity I'm looking at. The risk reward is not particularly great, especially with me entering on the 4-hour chart. I'm not really finding the swings I'm after. But it's an opportunity nonetheless, and I do think there's still some more downside. But in terms of entries, if you haven't entered up there, now's not the time to enter because price is kind of stuck at support right now. So definitely the boat has left the docks, the train's left the station. So yeah, unless we come back up to the high again, there's not really an opportunity there anymore, I would say, with Aussie dollar. With ends the USD, this one, did it see a bit more downside as well? Yes, it did. Did it go and hit the second daily area? Did it? Yes, it just about did. So just about tapped into this level. So again, this is kind of like the next area. I do expect to see a bounce for New Zealand dollar. I was looking for the bounce on this area, but we didn't really see much of it. It was a slight one for a couple of days before price did break through. So now this is the next big area because we're due a bigger retracement. If you look at how price is moving, we're due a correction at some point. I do expect it to happen from this low, especially if USD does find resistance at that 107-200 area. Then there's a good chance New Zealand dollar will probably push up as well. Dropping down to the 4-hour chart, you can see we're starting to see some corrections. Overall, the market is very, very corrective as well, which tells me there's not a lot of momentum left, meaning we probably will go for a bigger bounce at some point. Even if we are going to continue through this and continue lower, we probably will see some upside at some point. So I do think the buys look okay here. It's still a little bit aggressive. Maybe you can put some double bottoms in and see some more rejection. It will be increase the probability of the buy playing out. But I do think if you're looking for buys, you're in a great place for it. And you're kind of waiting for confirmations and for structure there. but I do anticipate a bit of a bounce there for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD flew to the moon. CAD was pretty weak, and USD just well, USD wasn't even particularly strong. But yeah, CAD was very weak and a really big push to the upside there, creating new highs. So it's interesting now with dollar CAD. I want to see how this weekly candle closes, because it looks to me like price might be having a breaking test of this major high here. If that's the case, that could mean a lot more upside for dollar CAD. Of course, CAD's going to play a big role in this, but if that's the case, if we are holding this level here in the weekly chart, that will mean a lot more upside and probably a really nice trend as well. And in terms of targets, actually, let me stay on the weekly chart. In terms of targets, we could be looking at push back into this high here. There's some highs around there we could speak about later on, but for now, 1.43, 1.44 looks like a likely place where price could be pushing towards. So the next best area for long on dollar CAD will now be this area here, brief consolidation before we shot to the upside of all that momentum. No retest of that area. So if we were to get back there, that would be a nice place to look for some longs and a continuation. Market's still pretty consistent with the higher lows, you know, kind of just looking for the next one. And now it looks like price is holding that weekly level. So we could be seeing a really nice trend form here with dollar CAD. I mean, we already have, but it might only just be the beginning now that we're firmly above 1.4. In terms of gold and silver, very surprising move for gold and silver, I must say. I was pretty bullish on both of them this week and looking for more upside, but gold had a really big sell-off, breaking through this area. This was the level I said could be nice for some longs on gold, looking for that kind of inverse head and shoulder pattern, left head and then right shoulder. I mean, technically, if you do get back above it, I think the buys are back on for gold. I'm still not quite convinced on the complete sell-off back to the lows here. It was an aggressive move, but it might just be, you know, a little sell before price does push on. The key thing for me last week was the break of structure, so that invalidates my sells altogether. So I do expect a higher low to form. I was looking for it to form here. Maybe it's happening a little bit deeper. It is coming back into this low, I think, here just about. So maybe it's just coming a little bit deeper before the buy. But I still do think gold's bigger move is to the upside. So it's just how aggressive that move was yesterday did throw me off a little bit. I was expecting a bit more of a corrective move down before a big buy. But we've had a big sell. There's a lot of wicks accumulating there on the 4-hour chart. So that bearish momentum we had yesterday seems to be vanishing. And maybe we're going to use this low here on the left to see some upside rather than the area I was speaking about yesterday. But if we do get back above it, there could be some nice longs later in the week retesting that area. But yeah, I'm still looking for upside. Then silver, I was eventually trailed out of this one. Price did take me out the trade. My entry was here, and that's where I trailed my stop loss to. And I was trailed out there yesterday. I did close the trade for a smaller profit because I did bank some partials once we broke through the high here. So I did bank some partials. So it was a small win. I was looking for a bigger move, but with, you know, gold's falling out the sky, we're always going to see some bearish momentum for silver as well. So yeah, that did come and take me out the trade, but I'm happy with it. Still walked away for profit, so I can't complain. But yeah, with silver, again, if gold's going to do what I'm expecting to do, I do expect silver to follow suit. I mean, silver is still testing a major high as well. So I would still have a bullish bias in silver as long as we stay above this level, 30.07. In terms of the opportunities, not looking as good as it was when I first got in. So I'm not looking to buy silver anymore. It's a little bit more corrected now as well. But maybe if silver starts creating some higher highs and some higher lows again, things might look a little bit more interesting maybe next week or the week after. So yeah, still expecting upside, but want a bit more development in the structure before I do find some more longs.